Twisters is a new disaster film and is the sequel to the 1996 film Twister. It's getting a lot of rave reviews and it seems like it's making a decent amount of money at the box office. However, what did I actually think about the film? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. As storm season intensifies, the paths of former storm chaser Kate Carter and reckless social media superstar Tyler Owens collide. The pair and their competing teams find themselves squarely in the paths of multiple storm systems converging over central Oklahoma in the fight of their lives. The film stars Daisy Edgar-Jones, Glen Powell, and Anthony Ramos, and was directed by Lee Isaac Chung, and he's done one other film that I've seen before called Minari. Twisters, when I first saw the trailer for this film, the first thing that I was thinking of is this is the perfect movie to release during the summer. We haven't had a disaster film in quite a bit, so I think this was a good decision to throw this out in theaters. Now, the original film Twister, I have watched quite a bit growing up. I wouldn't say I overly love the film, but it's good enough to where I would revisit it time and time again, regardless of maybe some of the flaws that it has, but I do like the characters and the story overall I'm fine with. Now, going into this film, I really thought this would be more so of the same. I thought that it would mimic a lot of things from the original Twister, but I'm happy to say that at least it's its own film and it really doesn't have to really borrow too many things from the original film. The film starts off with this girl named Kate. She is a college student. She is a part of this storm chaser crew in which they have this Dorothy Doppler barrels that they are using this waterlock solution, and they are shooting this solution into the tornadoes to de-intensify them. But they try to do that in the beginning of the film and they aren't successful, and the tornado becomes an F5, and tragically a bunch of people in her crew end up passing away, including her boyfriend, so she ends up quitting the crew. Fast forward to 5 years later, she is now a part of a weather channel, and you have this guy named Javi who was a part of that storm chaser crew. He has his own company and he's trying to get her to come back to Oklahoma and be a part of their team as they're working on this tornado radar system in which they are trying to change some things and give warnings to people and really try to change the game. So she is kind of reluctant to actually do so, but she eventually agrees and she returns to Oklahoma. When she gets there, there are a ton of different storm chasers now actually going after these tornadoes. They have somebody named Tyler who is a part of this YouTube gang that is just crazy of going after these tornadoes. They have this British journalist who is doing a story on them, and he is actually joining in on the fun with all these storm chasers. They actually drive into the tornadoes directly and they shoot up fireworks at it. The guy is absolutely unhinged. He's crazy. They're doing all these crazy documentaries and filming while they're doing it. And he's just a really crazy character. And I really did actually enjoy that aspect of the film because it really brought some flavor to the film. Even though there's a bunch of different storm chasers going after these tornadoes, it was great to see somebody that is absolutely crazy and known as the Tornado Wrangler. Now, starting off with my positives of this film and what I actually did like about it is I do think that it's shot well. I think the tornado action is there. I do think that in the trailer, a lot of it was really shown. There is one scene in which in the trailer, which is not a spoiler, obviously, with me talking about this, where they show this tornado actually wrecking this power plant and a bunch of things blowing up, and that was one of my favorite scenes of the film. I think that really brought the intensity and really just brought up the tension of the film, and I really did actually enjoy that. And from a music standpoint here, I do think that the music actually fits with the narrative here. Even though country music is not my kind of thing, I think that it was really adequate for the scenery. I couldn't name any artist of who was actually being played in the film, but I could say that it actually fit with the narrative. From a character standpoint, I really thought a lot of them were very much one-dimensional characters, which I was kind of expecting. Outside of our three main characters, Glen Powell, Daisy Edgar-Jones, and Anthony Ramos, I can't say that I really cared about any other characters in here. Katie O'Brien was in here from Love Lies Bleeding, and she had absolutely nothing to do, which is kind of the case of a lot of these characters that are side characters. You know, they'll deliver a line or two, but they don't really have much they're really doing in here to really make much of an impact in this film. Now, from a point of view of tension and intensity in this film, I was a little bit underwhelmed at points. Like, for instance, in the trailer, they talk about the twins and they show the guy going, twins, twins, and he's yelling it. I thought that scene was a little bit of a letdown because I really wanted a lot more tension, a little bit more intensified moments in this film. I felt like we get that in the third act, which is obviously to be expected because that's the big grand finale. So in that kind of scene, yeah, that tension is definitely there, but I wanted a lot more of that. And I felt like a lot of times in this film, there really wasn't much of it. I do think that it has a strong opening with the F5 and people actually just passing right then and there within the first 10 minutes of the film. That was a great way to actually start off the film and get the story going. I was definitely on board for that. From a pacing standpoint though, this film, I think it does have problems within its pacing, and I say that because around the second act it really starts to switch gears and it starts to go more so on a romance angle, in which obviously Glen Powell is going after Daisy Edgar-Jones, and then they tried to create this love triangle with Anthony Ramos trying to go after her as well. And I was thinking to myself, come on, we all know if we've watched any movie ever that Anthony Ramos has no chance. Glen Powell is the hot commodity right now in Hollywood, so obviously he's going to win that love. So that was nothing that really shocked me, but I think that romance was very shoehorned in, very forced. It slowed down the film. I really don't think that it was actually needed. I do understand from the standpoint of having these two storm chaser crews, meshing up together. I understand where obviously they have a need for both of these characters in the film, but I just didn't really feel like we needed the romance edge. It definitely mixed-mashed in with the tones. It threw in some comedy. The romance, to me, I just didn't really care for it in that aspect, which leads me to my next point of this film. There were a few scenes in here which I didn't really care for, and I thought was really lacking logic in a way. So obviously the two storm chaser crews, they're going after the tornadoes. Now, this doesn't make sense to me in this scene. So they're racing to go towards the tornado, which I understand. They want to be the first one there. But they have two different goals here. You have Tyler Owens' team, who is going straight directly into the tornado, and they're shooting fireworks at it. Where Anthony Ramos' team is putting down these different Doppler radar systems. They are meshing it into like a triangle, and they put it in 3 different locations. They're just trying to get in front of the tornado. They're not going directly. So them racing really is a stupid scene to actually have in the film, which didn't really make any sense to me. I swear, every time you can take a shot, every time they say in this film, we gotta help the townspeople, we gotta go in there and help them out and give them resources and everything like that. But the problem is they don't have any resources at all. They have nothing to help these people. They go into these aftermaths of these tornadoes and they have no food to give them, they have no shelter to give them, no blankets, nothing to give them. So what are they actually doing to help these people? I have no idea. The other thing too, and this is probably more so a nitpicky type thing, the fact that this is Tornado Alley, it's in Oklahoma. Obviously this is something that happens quite a bit in their state. You would think that they would have a little bit more preparation, and what I mean by that is there are many times in this film where they go, we got to get to the basement, we got to get somewhere low, we got to get somewhere where we can actually hide and get away from this tornado. And nobody actually has any of these resources or anything to really protect themselves. So a lot of times they're just out in the open and they're trying to find somewhere to just lay down low so they don't get sucked up by these tornadoes. That really drove me nuts about the film. I mean, I get that this is a film where, you have like smaller towns and maybe they don't have those resources and everything, but it just drove me nuts because to me, I would figure, and obviously I don't live in these type of states to really know their infrastructure and how they build things. Maybe it's different out there. Maybe they actually do have this infrastructure to really hold and withstand tornadoes. But I feel like within this movie, they just really dumbed it down to where, they didn't have any of these resources. And it just kind of drove me nuts every time they would say that. And it's like, here we go again. We don't have anywhere to really hide. I guess we'll just take our chances. The dialogue in here is definitely a mixed bag. There's dialogue that really refers to tornadoes as being a religion. And I really think at times some of these characters, what they have to actually say at points, they make them seem like they're a jackass. Like, for instance, Glen Powell, he keeps calling Daisy Edgar-Jones' character a city girl, in which we all know she's not a city girl. And he keeps just repeating this over and over, and I was just like, please just make this stop. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some really great quotes in here. I wrote a few of them down. You have one, you don't face your fears, you ride them. And also you have, a tornado rating is not based on size or wind speed, it's based on damage. So things like that I did actually agree with some of their quotes, and some of the little funny parts and comedy and banter back and forth. Yeah, some of that is really cool about the film. Yeah, this film has some spectacle and it has some really good sound. I saw this in Dolby, so you can hear the wind picking up and just the tornado just roaring through the city and the towns. That was really cool. I really did enjoy that. But from a standpoint of me actually saying that, yeah, I'm going to visit this time and time again, I would say probably not, but probably a film that I would revisit maybe down the road or down the line. I'm not opposed to actually doing that. But as far as the score for this film, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think it's an okay film. For me, I wanted a little bit more spectacle, a little bit more damage, a little less of the romance, and maybe a tighter narrative maybe, and maybe a little bit of cutting of maybe about 20 minutes, making this maybe about an hour and 40 minutes. I think I would have liked that tighter niche runtime and very much less of the romance. Definitely, if we could get rid of the romance here, I could probably say that I would enjoy this film a little bit more and just, not feel like it was really shoehorned in and forced in, because it's definitely feeling like it's forced in here to just kind of check off a box to just have on a summer blockbuster movie. But what did you guys think about Twisters? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? If you haven't checked it out yet, are you going to check it out in a theater, or are you going to wait till it comes on streaming? And what do you guys think about the original film compared to this film? Or if you haven't watched it yet, are you going to check that out soon? Leave any and all comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.